But with that, let's just get right on into TWIG. Welcome to the season finale of TWIG, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show that tackles everything from Pokimane to Olympic eSports with some games in between. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, be sure to go and give us a good review. Click that like button if you're ever on YouTube, or come and listen live on Twitch every Tuesday night, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, but our time is going to be changing. Look for all of that information on our Discord whenever we come back for season 4 in August. Folks, as always, we're going to be starting tonight with what have we been watching, playing, and reading. I am Nerd Pastor Nate, the pastor here, and I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves and tell us what they have been watching, playing, and reading. We'll start with Mayfly as we got, I was going to direct attention. There we go. So Mayfly, tell us what you've been watching, playing, and reading now that I've already introduced you.
What have I been playing? A little bit of WoW, a little bit of Dead by Daylight, and a little bit of BG3. Because I started a tactician mode campaign, finally. So, but I did the not smart thing and started a tactician mode campaign on a class I've never played before, and with the wild magic sorcerer that randomly turns me into a sheep mid-combat. So that was real smart.
I'm Sneaky or Mike, whichever way you want to yell at me. Let's see what I've been playing. I have not been doing much because I am in full-blown full-time work, full-time school, full-time parent mode right now. So life has been crazy, but I've been watching How I Met Your Mother because sometimes I just I need a chuckle. And while I'm doing homework or my kids are getting really loud, and so I need something to kind of cover that up. And every once in a while, I just I listen to music all day long. So, but I've been watching that, and it's been fun. It's been fun to go back and kind of rewatch those earlier seasons. Sometimes you're like, man, this show, how did it ever get so popular? There's some parts of it you're like, it's just so bad. And other times you're like, it's so funny. So I've been watching a lot of that, catching up on Hot D, so House of the Dragon, been staying up on that. It's probably been about it. Playing, again, not much. I've just been dabbling into things here or there. I did jump into the beta test for Concord.
Oh, nice.
So if you remember, we got to see that in for Summer Games Fest. So originally they just had the beta for people, the early access beta for people who had bought it. And I'm going to guess, and in Humar Whithill's Discord, there's a couple of us that were kind of talking back and forth about it. And we're guessing they must not have had a lot of pre-sale. Because at the very last minute, they opened it up to PlayStation Plus for early access. So I jumped into that. Man, it's fun for 10 minutes. And then there are things about the game that just make you want to beat your head against the wall. And I guess there's some things that also have come out about the game that people are scratching their heads, why did you make this decision? So while it had I would say probably one of the better trailers during Summer Game Fest, unfortunately the game is not living up to some of the things it promised. So granted, it's early access, it's open beta, so there's still a lot of time to change things, but it was a little rough. Other than that, been reading. I've been catching up on Timeline for our book club, and then I can start reading this month's stuff, so I'm almost done with that. And then that's been about it.
Very good. Well, I have been watching, along with many members of the chat, our Anime for Anime Club, Chia Faru. And I have also been watching a Persona 3 Reload Let's Play and super enjoying that. I am almost done. It is a long game, so I have been watching for many, many, many hours at this point. I did also start the Let's Play that the Game Grumps are doing of Danganronpa V3, which just got me all excited to see that somebody else is playing Danganronpa and that it's the Grumps. It was pretty much as good as it could be for me. I have been playing. I am pretty hooked. I dropped Bastion and picked up Zenless Zone Zero, and I'm super enjoying it. It might be what I end up playing tonight over in our Discord hangout after this. I also have some Legos to finish building, so I might start with those, see where we get, and if I have extra time, I'll end up playing Zenless Zone Zero because I am hooked. I am so hooked that I made a Geek Out channel over in the Discord, so If you want to come geek out with me about that game, then you can go do it in that space. I also wrapped and rolled credits on Tavern Talk, our Button Bash Brigade game of the month. So that is officially done. No more Tavern Talk. I did leave my review over on Backlogged of it, but I don't want to spoil my thoughts for anyone that is still in the midst of playing it or hasn't started playing it, because I don't want to in any way give you an impression of the game that maybe you want to form on your own. So
can you at least give us your 5-star rating, or was that even?
If you want it, but I just don't want to ruin anything.
Okay, all right, okay, fair enough.
So you can go check Backlogged. I promise it's there.
Right.
You can go find it. It's the latest one. It has the review of my thoughts and why I gave it the score that I did. So
That means
it's
low,
all there.
y'all. That means it's low because he was expecting it to be more like Coffee Talk.
I had a comment about Coffee Talk in there, but it is its own
bias
game.
going into it.
It's its own game. It's its own
low.
thing.
Nope, that's what that means.
It is what it is. So Zenless Zone Zero, Tavern Talk. Not sure what I'm going to pick up next on my actual backlog roulette thing, but it will probably be another Crab's Treasure, because that is the one that is the score the algorithm is telling me is my highest one to play next, but I'm not really that interested in it, so I might drop it. We'll see. And then I have been reading. I just started Full Night, which came in the latest Manga Spice Cafe. Way better than I anticipated. I don't know, just looking at the cover, I was like, this is going to be dark and moody and just kind of okay. No, it's real good. It is real good. An excellent plot. I'm so into it. The basic gist, for those that weren't listening to Manga Spice Cafe or weren't able to be there and haven't caught that, the premise is it is the future of the world, and we have run out of effective clean energy. And so as a means of keeping the air purified, human beings are able to take a huge payment, and that payment will allow them to inherit just millions of yen. But they have a 3-year timeline that clicks on right then of them turning into a plant to feed into the ecosystem. Really weird premise, really weird concept, but it's what would it take to make you take the deal? Would you live the highest millionaire status 3 years of your life, then knowing that you're going to turn into a plant? Who does that? Why do they do that? And then what does this guy have to do with it?
Me.
Way better than I anticipated.
I would do it.
Yeah. It's real good. So 2 thumbs ups for that one. I'm very excited to get to the end of it and then see if there's any more that has come out or when it is coming out, because into it. And then I also binged the rest of Demon Slayer. So I dropped Demon Slayer for quite a while, picked it back up at Swordsmith a week ago, and then haven't put it down since. So good. So incredibly good at the end. I did not like Demon Slayer. It was a solid 3, and it has worked its way up to a solid 4, if not a 4.5 if I did half stars, because wow, it ends very well. They just know what they were doing. It honestly reminded me, for those of you that are fans of Yu Yu Hakusho, I have the nostalgia bait for Yu Yu Hakusho, so it ends on a 5 for me. But I think that if I grew up with Demon Slayer, it would end on a 5 for me with that nostalgia factor. So I quite enjoyed it. I don't think it's perfect, but it was very good. Let's look at the comments now to see some of the other things that are being watched, played, and read. Sugar Haiku is also watching Trigun, reading our book club pick of Regular Witches, which I'm also reading. I forgot to mention that. Chasing Perfect. And then also is playing Tears of the Kingdom, which I saw you got the Master Sword today, and it just brought up all the feels. T-Bone is starting Tower of Dawn. Centurnal is playing Hearthstone and watching Solo Leveling. Sugar Haiku finished Bridgerton and House of the Dragon. DGC, yes, Milgram. Oh, I love to see it. Watch that Milgram.
Yeah.
It's so good. If I can get anybody on Milgram, it is a good day. Love that series so much. Love the music. Tower of God streams, Nerdy Sermons, and YouTube. Playing Persona 5 Royal and Honkai Star Rail, reading One Piece, Tower of God, fanfiction, and the Bible. And T-Bone also started watching Castle. Potion Permit. Centurnal is also playing Potion Permit. I remember playing the demo for that, and I was pretty curious about where it would go. So I'm curious to keep getting into it. My current rating of Reload is a solid 4. It's a great game. Great game. Sugar Haiku's excited. Hey, Centurnal, thank you for that subscribe. Appreciate that. DGC loves Yu Yu Hakusho. We got an active chat tonight, and I am here for it. Keep on chatting and engaging with us. We love to see it. But we are going to get into some of our news for tonight. So feel free, keep on engaging with the Watch Play, read what you've been up to. But we're going to get into some of the news stories that are trending right now. The first one comes from Xbox. Xbox Gamepass has announced price hikes across nearly all subscription tiers, leading to significant changes for users. The standard tier will no longer include day one releases, a benefit now reserved for the more expensive Ultimate tier, which is increasing to $19.99 a month. Analysts and industry experts had anticipated these increases, noting that the service's original pricing model was unsustainable, given the rising cost of game development and inflation. Microsoft aims to maximize revenue from each subscriber, especially after its costly acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Yeah, thoughts on this one? Y'all take it away before I drop mine.
So a part of me says not surprised. Like they had to do this at some point. Interesting that they're splitting tiers a little bit with this. I know they kind of did this already, but interesting that they're going to keep that model rather than making it a blanket, across the board. So on one hand, yeah, I agree. I see it. Like, they probably do. I know on TWIG we've talked about in the past, like, with the price of things going up, it makes sense. Like it's got to. So I don't think this is like that far out of now. As someone who subscribes to the Ultimate tier, I will say this does make me pause a little bit though for $20 a month, because I'm also already paying for PlayStation Plus as well.
Yep.
So that makes it a little bit tougher to swallow, especially because, now granted, part of it is just because of being in school full time. So my amount of playing time is like significantly lower than normal. So I have not been utilizing Game Pass as I normally do. So I'll be very curious to see if I drop Game Pass for a little while, just due to trying to save some money, and since I'm not utilizing it very, very much. But man, to drop it and give up some of those day one releases is tough. Very tough. But yeah, we'll see. I'll probably give it a month or two and see how I feel about the price hike and if it's sustainable or not, and go from there.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see how many of the set it and forget it people that they lose, because that was where I was kind of the like, if I miss a month, it's not that big of a deal, but like, I don't know. That's 4 full price games a year. So if I'm not playing 4 AAA games a year on Xbox Game Pass, I'm not sure if it's the greatest deal in gaming anymore. So that's where I'm sort of on the fence of like, yes, I love Game Pass. I think it is a great deal, and I think what they offer is great, but I don't know if I can just forget about it anymore. And honestly, it's getting that way with Netflix too. A lot of the subscription models is they keep going up and up and up and up. I'm like, I can't just keep, carrying these over from month to month, which I shouldn't be anyway, right? I get those Rocket Money ads all the time because of it. But like, it's to the point that I think push is going to come to shove, and they're going to lose a lot of their nascent subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are we almost back to the point where like cable makes more sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, have we started raising prices enough with
there's so many streaming services, like there's no point, you know what I mean? Like every single streaming service, like you need your own account for, you need your own thing for, you need like, it's just like there's no point. When we had cable, you could just watch what was on TV, like, and everything that was on TV is now on whatever random streaming service they decide to put it on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm with Sneaky on this. I don't currently have Game Pass. I was one of those people that would like get a free trial of Game Pass for a month to play a game that I wanted to play that was on there, and then would just make sure it was canceled so they didn't charge my credit card the next month. Like, but it was going to happen with the way that inflation and everything was going. I just don't know with the type of content that is being put out, like you all were saying, is it worth, the number of full price games a year that you could buy that are multi-platform or whatever? Like, is it worth it? Probably not. Like, and a lot of people are going to realize that, and they're going to cancel. So
I wonder if we'll see indie devs step up and say like, hey, the price keeps going up, but our royalties don't. Like, because it's always been kind of the word on the street that like Game Pass was a necessity, but not really as good of a boon for indie devs as it seems to be. Like, it gets the word out there, but it doesn't pay that well. And it's like, well, you're making more money, so it should start paying better for those indies that they keep getting. There was just an indie that dropped today on there that I'm pretty interested in, of like where you're in a shop and you're taking care of your magic supplies and it's a cozy life sim, and I'm like, I'll play that. But how much attention are they getting on Game Pass, but how much are they getting paid at the same time? It's going to be a big question. And I go back to like, I just wonder, where could Microsoft have got money from? Like, where could all of the money that they had have gone? What could have happened? Like, where could this, $60 billion just have disappeared to? What happened? Yeah. So it's like, I'm so skeptical of their model and how they do things. But at the same time, Phil Spencer is a very convincing speaker. And look, he's still there and Jim Ryan isn't, right? So like, clearly they're doing something right, or at least they have their hands in the right pockets, and Microsoft is not going anywhere anytime soon. So who knows? Who knows where we'll go with this one and what the future will hold? For now, I will be holding on to it just because, again, I think Game Pass is kind of a necessity for Checkpoint, because I've got to be on top of what games are coming out there as best as I possibly can and know what's going on. And yeah, more subscriptions, more stuff. I just canceled HBO literally today because I was like, I have not watched something on Max in like 3 months. Like, it's got to go. And so it did. All right, with other news, let's get into the next one.
All right. Once Human, the developers of Once Human, a post-apocalyptic open-world survival game, have taken a firm stance against cheating. They have publicly named and shamed players who cheated or exploited bugs in the game. Those caught exploiting bugs received bans of up to 30 days and had the items they gained confiscated. This move aims to maintain a fair gaming environment and discourage dishonest practices. By holding players accountable, and the developers hope to ensure a balanced and enjoyable experience for all users. Okay, I have like twin thoughts on this topic. And so first is the vindictive part of me says yes. Like, I am all about people who cheat. Let's publicly shame them. Social shaming, social motivation, let's do it. And then I think about the other part of it where, like our Checkpoint stance on things, do good, do no harm, do not put ice in your fountain drinks. And so I look at that and part of me goes, is publicly shaming, trying so hard to keep a straight face after saying that, but is social shaming, like, is that doing good and doing no harm? Like, if you end up in a game with somebody who his name is out there publicly as a cheater, will those other players gang up on that person? And could that lead to some like social bullying within the game? And for some people, yes, you cheated and you got caught, so there are consequences to that. But does this actually push that consequence further than it really needs to go? And that's where, like, man, on one hand, yes, like, I'm one of those people, I get so frustrated with people who cheat in video games. And so, like I said, like, the vindictive side of me says yes. But then I look at this and I can see where this could be taken really far in a way that could cause a slippery slope that I would be quite worried about. So I'll be curious to see, like, in the end, like, what ends up happening with this practice.
Yeah, I'm a cynic here as well, and I think this is just more of an attempt to get attention on Once Human. This is the same game that just announced the server wipes thing, and so they're like, they're kind of toting this concept of like, we're edgy. We're not your aunt's open world survival game. Like, we're about to blow your mind with this new concept that we have. We're hard on cheating, and we always wipe servers. Like, I think they're just trying to be edgy and get their own little corner of the market. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but I think that's probably what this ultimately is going to lead to. And I don't know who hurt this game dev and like who it was that made them have these just vindictive feelings of, we want to shame cheaters, we want to wipe servers, we want no one being good at our game. Everyone has to start over again and again. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this genre of game, but it does seem like there is something going on where either they're just trying to get attention or they're truly trying to make something different in a very saturated market.
I mean, Tarkov does the same thing, though. Once every few months, they wipe the entire server. You have to start with all of your gear from scratch. Like, you don't get to keep everything. Like, that is a thing that has continued to become more prominent in survival games the past few years. So that part is, I think, just par for the course with the genre. As far as the cheating, I think if you don't want to get called out for it, don't do it. Just don't do it.
Right.
Like,
That is
Like,
the safest way.
It's just,
especially when there's people streaming. Like, it would, to me, the devs calling out the cheaters and like putting out a list or however they did it is just as easy to do as if a popular streamer is streaming the game and streams you cheating and calls you out to 2,000 viewers. Like, you know, if you don't want that to happen and you don't want to be publicly, you know, put out about it, don't do it.
Mhm.
Like, anybody could be streaming at any time, or the devs could be watching. Like, I think that is a way to kind of teach people, oh, hey, maybe we should stop doing this, because what if the devs are watching, or what if there is somebody streaming, and like, what if I do get outed for doing this, and then, you know, what if it messes with, you know, whatever I've got going on online? Like, I understand what you're saying, Sneaky, but also maybe I'm a little bit more vindictive than you are.
Well, it's all in the works of like, how do you want to handle it, and then how much do you want to let the devs handle it, and when do you want to step in as a player, and just try to acknowledge, like, if we are speaking to the gamers, then we can say, like, just don't, and it won't happen to you. If you don't, then it won't happen, and that is the safest way to go about playing a game in the way that the devs meant for you to play it. Hopefully that works. Is a matter of effective outreach, but yeah. It is tricky stuff for this one. Let's get into something that I didn't expect to read.
The developers of Palworld Pocket Pair have signed a deal with Sony Music Entertainment Japan and its subsidiary Aniplex to form a new company called Palworld Entertainment. This joint venture aims to expand the Palworld IP beyond gaming, focusing on global licensing and merchandising. The collaboration will start with the launch of exclusive merchandise and potentially lead to more developments, including new game content and a possible PlayStation port in the future. That is exciting because I liked that game a lot, and then I had to move and I fell out of it. But I think that's a fun game, and I think that's exciting.
It was fun, and it had a notoriously small team. I remember on an episode of Twig, right whenever it came out, the like CEO-esque type figure of the company was like, we're never going to get bought out. We're never going to do anything big.
Yeah.
And so it's important to note, like, this isn't buying them out. Like, this isn't Sony saying we now have bought Pocket Pair. They're trying to word it as clear as they can of like, this is a partnership of a new thing. It's almost like I'm equating it again to Pokemon, which is just a shame because Palworld probably wants to stop talking about how they're like Pokemon. I'm equating it to like Game Freak and Pokemon Company. Like, this is Pokemon Company wants to do more things. Game Freak's going to make games. And like, this is kind of what Pocket Pair is wanting to do in my vision of what this article is actually getting at, is like, they want to make a whole series of entertainment that does stuff. And then they want to make their games, and they want the two things to be mutually exclusive in a way. So maybe that's where this will go, or maybe the guy sold out. I don't know. Like, it could have been that it was just a really good deal, and like, we're going to make your game exactly what you need it to be, and it's going to give you this much money. But I don't know. I'm of the opinion that I think that is probably the best corollary in the entertainment sphere that I can think of.
Yeah, and I'll agree with both of you on this one because I have no stake in Palworld. But I like what DGC said in the chat. He says, "I guess I wonder if this could potentially lead to an anime," and I can see that. Like, I can see where they could start thinking a little bit bigger than the video game, and what could they turn it into in terms of merchandising and other things. And I mean, Palworld definitely had its moment, and they're trying to keep making sure it has its moment. And so it'd be very interesting to see, if they're going to try pushing a little bit more with it and see where it goes. So
yeah, and there was even they're taking it so much darker that I wonder if they could go really dark with the anime and like partner up with Ari Shankar of like Castlevania and create their own little like, rebooted Pokemon universe of these just Pokemon with guns, and let's actually go gritty with it and have fun. I think that could be really entertaining and a fun partnership down the road. So I would love to see it.
That'd be the way to go, honestly. That really would be the way to go.
we'll see if those are the conversations they're having in the back rooms someday. But for now, just the announcement that the thing exists. So expanding that IP, getting the word out there, and we'll see when and what happens from this next. With that, let's look at our next news article.
All right. The inaugural Olympic eSports Games will take place in Saudi Arabia in 2025 as part of a 12-year partnership between the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, and the Saudi National Olympic Committee. This event aims to integrate esports into the Olympic tradition and will feature regular competitions over the next decade. The IOC highlighted Saudi Arabia's expertise in esports and commitment to Olympic values, including gender equality and youth engagement. We're just to hold that thought for a second. This initiative aligns with Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, which focuses on transforming the nation's social and economic landscape through increased sports participation and hosting major international events. Okay, like I have a real issue with that middle sentence because we all know Saudi Arabia don't exactly have the best, human rights. The way the world sees Saudi Arabia and human rights is not a good thing. So, man, this is one of those where it's just got to boil down to money. Like there could be no other reason that the IOC would decide to do this unless there was some money involved, because I don't want to keep bagging on Saudi Arabia and not let them have things because of what they do culturally, but man, does it make it tough, because here's all I'm thinking. We know gamers, right? Like that's who we are. And the people who play esports are, I'm going to try to say as delicate as I can, but probably not the type of people that are going to be very welcome in Saudi Arabia. And so I'm struggling to find the line here of how this is actually going to go off well. I have hopes. Don't take me wrong. On one hand, I think this is so super cool that the Olympic Committee, I know they were even trying to get esports in before COVID happened, and then it just never made it in. So the fact that the IOC is willing and was pushing to make this happen is such a cool thing, that they're willing to have esports be taken to that level of the Olympics, right? That is super cool. But man, out of the 200 and some odd countries in the world, you had to go with this one? Really?
Yeah, I want to note that this could be some of ChatGPT rewording this in a passive stance. So I found the actual quote from the IOC president. And so it's a little bit differently worded than how ChatGPT worded it, where they said, I think it connected these two sentences and wanted it to be two different thoughts. So it says, the IOC highlighted the expertise in esports and a commitment to Olympic values. So there's a pause there. Their expertise is not in esports and commitment. Their expertise is to esports, and they're also making a commitment. And so the actual quote from Thomas Bach is, by partnering with the Saudi NOC, we've also ensured that the Olympic values are respected, in particular with regard to the game titles in the program, the promotion of gender equality and engagement with a young audience. So it's not
that makes me feel better.
It's not we're celebrating the expertise of the Saudi Arabian government and government people, but instead that we are doing what we can to emphasize commitment and ensure commitment to that thing. So that is an important distinction.
That is a very important distinction. That makes me feel like a teensy bit better.
Yeah. It does almost certainly cement that it's it's about the money. It's money. It's money, and it's investment, and it's the thing that's able to make the thing float. I will say that from my perspective, I thought esports were kind of dying. I know there's plenty of money in esports, and there's plenty of the traction still going, but it's like the word on the street has sort of fizzled. It's kind of gone in to be a movement of now it's happening in school settings, and the famous setting is sort of dwindling because the games were sort of dwindling. But I could be dead wrong, and I'm fine to be dead wrong with that. That was just from my perception of, I feel like I hear a whole lot less about it. But it does have a whole section of the Game Awards for what's that worth. It also has these major events throughout the year. So I probably shouldn't bag on it, but it's just a matter of this sort of cemented to me, I guess it is still here, and it is still prevalent, and it's still something that is being encouraged and fought for and lifted up. And so maybe Maybe it was all that Gran Turismo movie. That's what it was, or whatever the movie was. That's the one. That's the one that did it. So yeah, now esports are back with that because we learned that you can go be a real driver from playing video games. So who doesn't love that? With that, we're going to get into our next one. This one is about Truck-kun, a transportation manager in Shizuoka, Japan, has criticized anime, particularly isekai genres, for negatively impacting the public perception of trucks. He argued that the frequent depiction of trucks as instruments of fatal accidents in these shows has led to a distorted and harmful image of the logistics industry. This portrayal, he claims, undermines the essential role trucks play in everyday life and contributes to an unfair stigma against truck drivers and their vehicles. I had to put this one because it's amazing.
Look, man, truck drivers drive crazy. There's no stigma. They just do. I don't know what else needs to be said about that. There's no animes or mangas causing that stigma. They just drive crazy. So maybe they should stop driving so crazy and people won't be so scared of them. And they won't get in as many accidents.
I can just tell you, I've never had a single thought about a truck. Never once have I seen a truck and had a thought about it, other than like, maybe I'm just going to get around it. That would be the ultimate thought. But it's never like, I'm never afraid I'm going to be chasing a ball out into the street. Like, I never have those settings of like, I've got my buttered toast in my mouth. I've just gotten dressed for my day of high school and I'm going to go out and get hit by a bus on the street. I've never had the experience of the Japanese schoolgirl in the anime that this happens to. So that was the funniest part to me, is like, I cannot relate to this in the slightest.
All right, but here I'm gonna play devil's advocate. This guy has a point, because how many of us Gen Xers have been traumatized by Final Destination and can no longer drive next to a truck carrying logs?
Oh yeah, log truck is 100% different.
You know, like,
no,
so, I mean, there's kind of a point here to this.
You can't
that
drive
like
behind the log truck, because then the logs.
No, you don't even drive near the log truck. You do 100 miles per hour, you fly past it, and you don't think about it after that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I no longer pull over on the side of the road. If I'm on the side of the road, I can't open up the door because I'm like, it's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And so, yeah, Final Destination has messed me up in most things. Can't clean garbage disposals. You name it, and I can't do it. I had trouble with propane grill. That's why I'm a charcoal man. It's because I can't even get near a propane grill. It's going to scare me half to death.
Right. Final Destination needs to be celebrated for messing up just decades of people.
Just pure trauma, yes. No good. So yes, Truck-kun, I included this one just because I thought it was absolutely ridiculous.
It's fantastic.
But I did also want to include this meme. So if you haven't seen the meme down at the bottom of the screen there, that is a truck saying Satoru Gojo's famous line, "Nah, I'd win." And it's just real good. It's just a real good meme. So that one's just going to live in my brain for quite a while. But with that, we're going to get into our final of our trending headlines. Reconnects. Pokimane recently participated in a charity auction organized by CDOG VA aimed at raising funds for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. The auction, held at the Millennium Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles and streamed on CDOG VA's Twitch channel, featured a one-on-one gaming session with Pokimane, which sparked a bidding war that exceeded $30,000 and has since gone up to $500,000 bids. This event is part of a larger effort to help raise $1.5 million for the charity. So absolutely absurd, absolutely ridiculous. $500,000 to play a video game with Pokimane. So Mayfly had to go for anybody that's watching, and I have just edited to this point of the show. Pokimane had a major bid on whatever deal she's got going on, and it has now achieved $500,000 bid to play a video game with her. I do not understand people that have the money to do this, but at least it is for a charity, and that is a good thing. And we love to see
that. Is it hard that like that's what you have to say? Like, at least it was for charity when you look at something like this and you're just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like it goes where it goes, it does what it does, and I'm glad that Pokimane is a part of something that at least this is the way that she is choosing to use her fame and her personage and whatever interest that people have of playing a game with her. So at least there is that. You know, it could be worse. It could be other ways that she is maximizing on the attention that she has, and instead she does it in what I would say is a net positive, a net good for people here. So we love to see that. But Yes, if only it could be done a different way or a better way, or people could use their money towards things that would be an even greater net good. But charities are necessary, and these kind of fundraisers get attention and support. So that is the reality of the game. With that, we're going to go into our next segment of the show and everybody's favorite segment of the show, Cryptic Critiques. That's right, it's time for Cryptic. Cryptic Critiques is everybody's favorite game. This is the game show of bad reviews for beloved games. I've scoured the internet to find 3 of the funniest bad reviews I could for popular games, and I'll deliver them one at a time to our special guest of the week. Play along with us, see if you can figure it out before clue number 3. But if you're watching live with us, remember not to send your guesses until the guest gets to give their final choice at the end of the 3rd prompt. Sneaky, are you ready?
Hold on. Yes, in a moment. Mayfly did message me. She said that she wants to phone in and still do her cryptic critique. She was looking forward to this.
Okay, that is fine with me.
Okay.
If you want to ping her whenever it's her turn, I'll start with you, and then whenever you get done, we can ping her in. Okay.
I'm just telling her to jump in.
All right, your first one, Sneaky, is backseating the game, the movie. Backseating the game, the movie.
Okay. Backseating the game, the movie. Oh. All right, I have no guesses at this moment.
It could go a lot of ways just off of that one.
I know, right? I'm like. Okay.
There's a lot of games that could get that description. I am going to tell you, I have 4 clues for this one. The 4th one is just giveaway. The second one is game's subtitle should be in search of game of the year. Game subtitle should be in search of game of the year. So backseating the game, the movie, game subtitle should be in search of game of the year.
All right, I have thoughts.
You have thoughts? Any directions?
I have thoughts.
I think the 3rd one will give it away, but I know the 4th one will give it away.
Okay, give me the 3rd one, because I'm leaning a direction, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's...
All right, the 3rd one, I'm telling you, it's going to give it away for sure. Once you hear, there's a key descriptor in here that I thought about taking out. 3rd clue, why are Norse gods talking like a bunch of Redditors in the middle of a heated argument? Why are Norse gods talking like a bunch of Redditors in the middle of a heated argument?
Oh, man. I want to say, like, part of me's leaning towards God of War, but, like, I feel like we've done that one already. But then the other part of me leaning towards Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't know.
Not sure? All right, number 4 will give it away. Are you ready? You want number 4?
I'm ready.
You were correct. Working titles for this review have included number 1, God of Snore. Reason it was not used is because it was taken. Number 2, God of More. Reason it was not used could imply the more was good. Reason number 3, Teen Angst Simulator. The reason it wasn't used is because everyone was angsty, not just the teen. Used the title of A Series of Unfortunate MacGuffins, which is a great title.
That 4th one is fantastic.
Yeah. So it was a good one, a funny one.
Oh,
we
my
love to
goodness.
hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. God of War Ragnarok. Yep, that's...
Technically, Ragnarok here was the one that we picked. I don't think we've ever done God of War. It's not on my list anyway. But Ragnarok felt like the more appropriate one, the more recent.
Yeah, Teen Angst Simulator was that was
true.
Beautiful.
It's so good. It's so good. And they're all really good titles. I could see any of them. God of Snore was the very first review with the highest ratings. I will say people did not like this game. People did not like the other game that I'm about to pick for Mayfly either. So I really picked games that had a divided fan base, to say the least. But yes, you did get it, technically. You made 2 guesses there. Let me know if you're in the chat if you got it before number 3, based off of those other hints there. Since we have 3 people tonight, at least for this minimal little segment here, we're going to let Mayfly guess for a second Cryptic Critique prompt. Yay! Chats in the clap for 2 Cryptic Critiques, your favorite game, twice at the end of the season. Mayfly.
I'm sorry.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Prompt number 1, the most average game I have ever played. The most average game I have ever played. I feel like that could be said about any game that ranks a 5.
Yeah, it could be anything. You're gonna have
there are so many. Number 2, I think is going to give it away. We'll see. If Marvel tried to make Fallout New Vegas? If Marvel tried to make Fallout New Vegas.
If Marvel tried to make Fallout New Vegas? Marvel makes me think superpower-esque type thing. New Vegas makes me think semi-post-apocalyptic. My initial guess is leaning somewhere in the BioShock realm, but give me the third one.
Okay. I like it. I like where your head is going. We'll see with this third one if it shifts your perspective at all. I think this one, I don't think you dislike this game, so you wouldn't write this review, but this person likely has similar sentiments otherwise. The gravest insult that I can possibly lay at this development company's feet, I would rather play a Bethesda game than this game. So we got the most average game I've ever played. If Marvel tried to make Fallout New Vegas, and the gravest insult I can lay at this development company's feet, I would rather play a Bethesda game than this game.
You usually tailor these, so I'm trying to think of things that I've played that I've enjoyed that fit these people's terrible opinion.
Yeah, I think you'd enjoyed this game. I know you've at the very least played this game, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if you get this one based off of these alone. I know these are a little bit tricky, but once you know, you're gonna be pinching yourself.
And I think I've only failed this game once. That's the sad, once or twice. That's the sad part.
I will say that the insult of Marvel was not that it was about superheroes, but was that it had cheesy jokes like Marvel does. The cringeworthy humor of Marvel.
Oh. Fallout New Vegas and Marvel.
I'm even trying to rack my brain to figure out what you've been playing.
Perry has a guess. Do you want Perry to give you a hint? See if it's in the right direction?
Yeah, Perry, could you hint me, Perry?
What do you think, Perry? Now we made him nervous. We made him real nervous. He is, I'm probably wrong.
Well, is it Outer Worlds?
It is indeed Outer Worlds.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
I knew that you played this game, and I was pretty sure that you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I love the Outer Worlds. I love Outer Worlds. It took me a moment for the FNZ connection to kick in and think.
Yes.
Well,
Yes,
Obsidian's
so-
a much better developer than Bethesda. Who would rather play a Bethesda game over Obsidian? That's ridiculous. That's such a stupid thing to say.
Always going to throw the stones. Always going to throw the stones at Bethesda. So that's why I had to throw it in there. Especially after I saw that one, because I was like, yeah, if Mayfly didn't like this game, that's a Mayfly insult. Very.
No, I love that. I'm so excited for the second one.
I really enjoyed it as well. I thought it was good, but haters going to hate, and they're going to think that the game isn't what they wanted it to be, and it's not set in the universe of the game.
Obsidian over Bethesda, thank you, PGC. You are now part of the club. Thank
Do
you.
we need another emoji? We have the emoji that is the ice or no ice or nuance. Now we need the Obsidian Bethesda, or both are good. I guess I like all of them. We need all of them. And the one that is Obsidian over Bethesda just has Todd Howard with the devil horns. That'll be the one.
Yes, that is perfect.
It's a classic. Are you
I
back?
could have turned that on the whole time. I didn't even think about it. I've been here. I could have turned this on the whole time, and I didn't even think about it.
Okay, so are you
My
back, or
power
do you need to
came
go?
back.
Do you need to go figure it out? Are you good?
No, I'm good. I'm back. Power
Okay.
came back. As far as I know, we have thunderstorms tonight, so here in my neck of the woods. So as far as I know, I'm back. If I drop again, then I'm gonna go jump off well. So we're fine.
I've been here the whole time, says Barry. Yes. Well, we will get right on in then.
I've been on my
Next-
PC the whole time.
our next segment, because we're going to get on to the show. I do know the way thunderstorms are in and out, and we're having them the same here. I didn't know if I was going to have internet tonight or not, but we do. So hopefully it holds out for the remainder of the show, especially as we get into this next segment of the show, which is, of course, That's right. It is to the Discord. This is where we take the news that you submitted to us over on our Discord server. If you'd like to be a part of our Discord server, !Discord in the chat, or check down in the link tree down in the description down below, or I'm sure I have it linked down there as well. We'd love to have you in that space. Every Monday, I ask for news that are in the trending headlines for you, and I pick some of the most interesting ones that I think our audience would like to hear about during the show. The first one is from Twyla. Nintendo is facing criticism for not crediting external translators in major games like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Animal Crossing New Horizons. These translators, often hired through agencies, are not listed in the game's credits and are bound by NDAs that prevent them from mentioning their work on their resumes for up to 10 years. This policy hinders their career growth and has been labeled as harmful and unfair, as it fails to acknowledge the significant contributions of these professionals. I hate it. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre to me.
So icky. Once the game comes out, what does it matter?
Right.
Right?
I genuinely don't get the argument, and I don't understand Nintendo's practices. They are exemplary. They are the company to work for. They are well known for being so good. And then why? Why this? What is the deal? Like that, like what would Iwata think of this? Why, the guy who took a pay cut, right, for his employees? What is this? Who's making this decision? I feel like there is some kind of lost in translation, no pun intended, happening here. Like there is some sort of barrier that we are just completely unaware of, or they're just tied to old practices, or I don't know, something weird is going on here. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Like I am a Nintendo fanboy and I'll give that up, but this doesn't make sense of the Nintendo that anybody knows. And so it just doesn't compute.
Like NDA, if you're under contract until the game releases, fine. Makes perfect sense to me. But once the title releases and your contract is up, then you should absolutely be able to just put that on a resume. I don't see the point.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes zero sense, and I'm totally the Trombone's comment in the chat. Pay people for their work and give credit where credit is due. 100%. Like, man, if somebody touches your game in any sort of way, their name should be in the credits. No questions asked. Like, right? Like they are a part of that game being made in some way, and so give them that credit. Like this is, and I agree with you, Nate. Like there's got to be some background thing here that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
But this just seems totally asinine in every way.
There's no doubt in my mind, Nintendo is one of the most litigious companies ever. And so maybe there's some element of some lawyer in their, C-suite is like, we will never budge on this. And I don't know why, but there is something going on that is law-based that just doesn't add up. It doesn't compute in my brain. But if we've got room in movie credits for the best boy, we've got room for translators. I watched a 30-minute Kickstarter segment of the credit roll today of Tavern Talk. So we got time. We got time in our games for some longer credits. It's going to be okay. We can hear another round of another KK song, and we can see the full list of those who translated it. So really, really strange. Maybe there'll be more that comes out about this. I could see, honestly, Nintendo doing either one. I could see them burying this and never talking about it. Or I could see Nintendo coming out and being like, you don't understand the situation, here's how it is work, or here's how we've adjusted ourselves. I could see that with Nintendo, but I could also see them just never talking about this. So it's it's a tough barrier with them and what they let us into. So who could say?
So quick question before we jump to the next story, and this is for chat too. Please jump in on this. I'm totally curious of your thoughts. But do you guys watch the credits after you finish the game?
I do. It's a new thing.
I do.
It started probably in the last 5 years, but it's really once I became professional, then I was like, oh, I'm going to respect these people's time and watch to the end of the credits. And that was very recent.
Yes, I used to do the same thing. Like movies, games, whatever. Skip, why is there no hold button to skip the credits? I used to totally be like that. And yet, again, similar over the last few years. It kind of for me in my own personal way, it is very much it has become for me very much a way to honor the people who have made that game. Because I don't know, one day it just totally clicked in my head where it was like when I skipped past it, I was like, man, I just totally like just blew past all these people who put blood, sweat, and tears into this game, and it felt like not honoring. And Marlena, I 100% do the same thing in video games, movies, TV shows. Like my kids and I, we will sit through the movie credits and look for people with our last name. So you're not alone in that. I think a lot of people actually do that. It's a fun little game, but yeah, just
I've
give
always
people
done it.
give people credit, man.
Yeah, for movies, I sit at the theater until the credits are over. Like I don't know, I've always done it. And for games especially when I realized that I wanted to go to college for animation and then games, then it became, you know, oh, I know one of my instructors worked on this. Like, you know, let's wait till we get at least to their department. Like, see the people that they worked with and like see the connections, and then it just has become a thing that kind of expanded from there.
Yeah. And this was a practice we have done, right? At Checkpoint. Whenever we roll credits on a game on stream, we watch the end of the credits. Like that's a practice that we even kind of took into our values for some reason. So yeah. Maybe there is an element of Marvel, you know, with the post-credit stuff, because that would kind of line up with my timing.
Yep. It like forces
well.
you to sit through it, and now you're kind of like, oh, I should actually probably pay attention to this. Yep. Maybe they wouldn't be wrong, GGC.
But maybe as a kid, it was like, these are the longest thing ever. And then once you're grown up, you're like, oh, these are not that big of a deal. I can take this medicine. It'll be fine. So yeah, interesting question for sure. And I look forward to seeing the comments as well on the video, not only those in the chat, because I think it is a fun one. Maybe it'll even make it as a question of the day. We shall see. But with that, on to our next news story.
All right, Sugar Haiku sent us the story about Redbox shutting down its parent company. Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment has moved from Chapter 11 bankruptcy to Chapter 7 liquidation. This means the company will sell off its assets to pay creditors, leaving over 1,000 employees jobless without severance. Boo, not a fan of that. Redbox, which once operated over 43,000 kiosks and peaked with nearly $2 billion in revenue in 2013, has been in decline and struggled with financial issues. Chicken Soup for the Soul's debt had reached nearly $970 million, prompting this drastic measure. And so goes the way. I think we chatted with this at one point in our Discord about this for a little while, because we were all talking about kind of like, when was the last time you actually saw a red box or it actually working? And so it led to a very interesting discussion about how, like, I think the majority of us like never actually used it, but we were so used to seeing it. So yeah, it's going to kind of be one of those things where it's like something that for a little while. And I will say, I think Redbox 2 had the unfortunate, I think they tried to fill the gap actually left by Blockbuster. And they came in almost on the heels of it. And it was like, great idea, but wrong timing. And so I mean, I'm sure Redbox had a heyday for a little while. I think I remember my parents using it a few times. But I think overall, I don't know how much it actually like really caught on in a lot of places, because by that point, streaming and things on the internet was taking off so rapidly. Another icon now lays in dust.
I just am so thrown by the fact that Chicken Soup for the Soul bought Redbox. Like that was the real kicker for me, as I was like, is that just like, does it just so happen to be the name of an entertainment company and a book series? No, they are one and the same. And they just bought Redbox.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, of the two, which one should have been the namesake of the company? Probably Redbox. Right? But it was Chicken Soup for the Soul. I can't, like, my brain can't wrap around the information that this merger ever happened. And I just never knew about it, let alone the bankruptcy. This whole thing blew my mind. And at first I was like, oh man, that's a bummer. And then I was like, what's Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment? And I've gone real down the rabbit hole of that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, missed opportunity, by the way, of never having a Chicken Soup for the Redbox.
They also apparently own Crackle. So I guess Crackle is going under. Truly is going under. Popcorn Flicks, whatever. I mean, there's like these random mergers that I have no idea. There's all these like household name, national acclaim companies. And then there's Chicken Soup for the Soul. Like the books that I saw at the book fair in elementary school are somehow managing to own all of these things. I'm baffled, and clearly it didn't go well. So I mean, you know,
Right,
it
right.
didn't work. But yeah, mind blowing. That was one that got stuck for me. Mayfly,
You know, I think I
you?
did read that, and then I totally glossed over the fact that it was chicken soup for the soul. Like, I think I was like, no, it can't be the same. Like, that's just a weird coincidence.
It just doesn't make sense. Which I always thought, by the way, was a Christian company. I'm like, now I'm real into it because I'm like, now need to know everything about Chicken Soup for the Soul. Who are their like shareholders?
I thought it was too until you just said that it wasn't.
Yeah, well, they say that they're like an interfaith connection thing. So I don't know. I have no idea how it works or in what way it works. But they definitely were like very much like propped up by the church, and so there's like an element of faith. Hilariously, their trademark is. I'm getting mean, and this is not the culture of Checkpoint Church. But their their slogan is that Chicken Soup for the Soul is always there for you. And it's just really bad timing to look up their trademark. So, you know, there's that goes for them as well. 29 years of Chicken Soup for the Soul, always there for you. Man.
Always there
So
for
bizarre.
you until 2024.
We're
no longer here for you.
Exactly 29 years. I don't know, you know, what exactly will happen with Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment, but it is just so interesting to me that this merger happened. Absolutely horrible. The job loss, absolutely horrible. That there is no severance, absolutely horrible. The just literal waste that's going to happen from this. I really hope that they are able to find a way to liquidate in a way that makes sense for maybe creating a small severance for some of these employees. Like, it's awful. It's terrible. I'm sorry that I'm laughing about this loss, but it's just so funny that this thing ever existed. And so I can't help myself, but obviously.
And how did we not find out about all these mergers? Like, was this just done so secretly that we have no idea?
It must have been. It must have been before TWIG, because TWIG would have covered this. Let me assure you, we would have covered this merger, and I would have found out about it because it's just so interesting. Oh, that one went places that it wasn't supposed to, but you know, it is the season finale. That's what this is here for. Yep. So if you want to go down the rabbit hole of Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment with me, then you know, I'll do that another time because that is fascinating. But we're going to get into our final of the submitted segments from Discord. This one was also submitted by Twyla, and this is very good news amidst a terrible situation. 11-Bit Studios, the publisher of games like Frostpunk and This War of Mine, and also the very recent Indica, has announced a $50,000 donation to support Ukrainian children affected by the recent Russian missile strike on the Children's Hospital. The donation will be directed to the Liberty Ukraine Foundation, providing aid to children receiving treatment at the hospital. The contribution follows 11-Bit's earlier commitment to allocate game revenues to assist children impacted by the war in Ukraine, emphasizing their dedication to humanitarian support amid ongoing conflict. And I did want to note the Indica game because of the fact, two things. Crossfire did a review of Indica recently, and so you should go watch that review. And the second thing is that I believe it's set in either Russia or Ukraine. It's somewhere there.
That's right, yeah.
And so this is very much tied to the game's release, and I believe the proceeds are coming from the sales of the game. And so I wanted to mention Indica since GPT didn't, because that is a big deal that this connection is being made and that there is a kind of charitable cause being focused here. So this is good news. We love to see it, and we love to see support for the people that are being affected by the terrors of war. Any thoughts on this one, Sneaky?
Absolutely. No, just you covered it, man. This is a good thing, and it's awesome to see, and let's get this war over.
Yeah. We really haven't covered much of the Russia-Ukraine situation on TWIG just because it very rarely impacts video games necessarily or nerdy news in general. But this is one instance where we were able to celebrate a good cause being done to impact this and being done to discuss this. Really the same thing with the Gaza situation as well. Like, there's not a lot of nerdy opportunities for that conversation to go out. But of course, we are, as a United Methodist Church organization, we are vehemently against war. That is a part of our social principles. And so that is something that we very much believe is a instance of harm, and we seek to do no harm. and we seek to stop harm where we see it being done. So that is something that we are fully in support of, and glad that we were able to talk about it tonight. With that, we're going to get into my personal favorite segment of the show.
At this point in nerd history.
All right, it is time for At This Point in Nerd History, all of the games, movies, and then some random facts that happened on this day, July 16th, throughout time and space. So I'll start with games and movies, and then we will let our history professor share with us some random facts that we've got there that are fun. The first one, the games that came out in 2015, Pokken Tournament, which some of you may remember as the Pokemon fighting game, was actually released in Japan on the arcade console. So it eventually wound up coming to the Switch, but this was where it was first kind of debuted as an arcade console game. In 2012, one of my favorite phone games of all times, Alto's Odyssey. If you never played it, a fantastic phone game. 2004, Fire Emblem, The Blazing Blade. That is the one with Lyn, released in the EU. In 1998, a game that I only very recently played by Zando's recommendation, Brave Fencer Musashi, was released. And then in Game & Watch Widescreen Octopus released, which there were so many of those Game & Watch games, and they're very much they are not in my mind's eye because I was not born. But I did have the Game & Watch, whatever they're called, the collection. And so the Octopus game is one that is certainly in my brain. It's obviously the boss move in Super Smash Brothers, so it's a big deal. This was kind of a beginning of an era of the times of video games and their origins and how they came to be handheld. So pretty cool stuff with that one. Some movies that came out throughout time and space on this day. 2021, Space Jam: A New Legacy. I know a movie that we all it just sticks with us, really stays in our brains. Right. Nobody forgot about it. It happened in 2021. In 2010, Inception, one of the greatest movies of all time, a very, very great film. 2004, a movie that I would say is a great movie, but maybe not everybody. They might think it's a little cheesy, but I, Robot with Will Smith, one of my favorites out there. 2004, as well as Cinderella Story, which I always get tickled whenever I see these movies that come out on the same day, and they're just so different. They're just such different movies. I, Robot and A Cinderella Story happen to come out on the same day, just hilarious. I wish these next two came out on the same day because it'd be equally funny, but they came out 2 years apart.
It'd be fantastic.
1999, the cult classic Eyes Wide Shut came out, and in 1997, George of the Jungle came out. That's crazy to me. 1997 does not feel real. That can't be that long ago. It can't be pre-2000, but alas, it sure was.
So Inception, it to me is one of those. I absolutely love this movie, but I show it when I was teaching. When I taught psychology, I would show it every year, and it'd be so great because I would, you'd have a small group of kids that would always have seen it before, and you had some that really hadn't, because by this point it's a good 10-year plus movie. And it'd always be great because the last day we get to that last scene, I'm not even watching the movie, I'm watching all of their faces for that very last moment, and then I just sit there and I just watch their heads explode, and then we do this big old debrief on it, and it's one of my favorite parts of teaching that class was this movie. And I tell the students all the time, I said, I've seen this movie probably over a dozen times, and I still catch something almost every single time.
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
It is a goodie. It is absolutely a
our random facts. And this day in 1981, after 23 years with the name of Datsun, executives of Nissan changed the name of their cars to Nissan. In 1969, the Apollo 11 blasted off from Cape Kennedy, Florida, and began the first manned mission to land on the moon. Such a cool moment. In 1951, J.D. Salinger's novel, The Catcher in the Rye, was first published. And man, could Holden catch that rye. Y'all, if you've never read Catcher in the Rye, it's divisive for a reason. Let's just say that. And lastly, 1790, the District of Columbia, as we know as Washington, D.C., was established as the permanent seat of the U.S. government. And I will spare you all of my useless Washington, D.C. knowledge, except for this one. So DC, laid out like a grid. A lot of the streets are numbers and letters, but there's one letter that's missing. And so there is officially no J Street in Washington, D.C., because the I and the J in Old English looked too close together. They were too similar.
Interesting.
And so, because in fact, for a long time, Thomas Jefferson, when he would sign his letters, it always looked like TI. And so there were actually some missing letters from Thomas Jefferson for a really long time because people would be like, "Oh, I don't know who TI is," and they would toss it off to the side.
Which I assume is why we have T.I. the rapper. I assume he was inspired by Thomas Jefferson.
Absolutely.
And that's surely where the name came from, and it can't be any other reference that I'm unfamiliar
Absolutely.
with that I shouldn't mention on Twig. That wouldn't happen. I was fascinated by all these fun facts, but the one that was the most intriguing to me was that I did not know that Nissan was not always Nissan. That is something that I did not, I had no clue. Could have never, like, you could have thrown that in there as like a, like, two truths and a lie, and I'd have been like, that's the lie. No clue that was the thing. So I'm very curious for any of my fellow 90s babies, if you knew that. Did you know that Nissan has not always been Nissan? Because I feel like, car companies, for some reason in my brain, are just always what they are. And there is no time before that. But there sure is.
Yeah, if you could actually find a Datsun, but they're actually immediately labeled historic vehicles.
Really? That's fascinating.
Because one, they're super old, and two, because they actually no longer exist.
I'm surprised that I've never seen one at a car show. Like now I really want to start looking. And
you never will, by the way, because Datsuns were some people would say they're held together by duct tape and twine.
Well, there you go.
Datsuns did not exactly have the best reputation, hence part of the name change. Yeah, you'll never see one at a car show as all nice and sparkly cleaned up.
Maybe a museum.
Yes.
I can hold out for hope there because I am very curious about it now. That was a little mind-blowing fact, which shouldn't have been as mind-blowing as it was, but just took me by surprise. So that has been, at this point in nerd history, my favorite segment of the show because I love all the fun facts and the games and the movies. Do let me know if any of those were intriguing to you, but we're going to get into our penultimate segment of the show here. Right, it's time for our upcoming games, upcoming releases. These are things that are coming out in the next week or so. And I'll start us off with Mayflies, just since she dropped them in here and is not able to be with us. I'll share a little bit of the things that she was geeking out about that were coming out in the near future. The first one was Dead by Daylight is getting a Tomb Raider chapter that released today. And then Vampire Therapist is a indie game that is dropping on the 18th. So if you're interested in vampires, and I'm the only thing I can think of is Interview with the Vampire. So I have no idea if it's going to be in that vein or if it's going to be something completely different, but interesting enough to see that. You play as a vampire therapist. That wasn't going to be my guess. I couldn't.
Right, did not see that coming. Right
if only they could have given me some context clues to tell me that was what the game was going to be about, that would have been helpful, but alas, those are Mayflies too. And now sneaking out, go back and forth with our 3 things that we are excited about. Feel free to let us know in the chat what you're excited about in the next week. So, Sneaky, take it away with your first one.
All right, first one, Cobra Kai, the final season, part 1, coming to Netflix here in a couple of days. This, I don't know for anybody else, but Cobra Kai has kind of been a sleeper show for me. When it got announced, I was kind of like, oh, this is gonna go bad. Don't take something we Gen X kids kind of sort of love here and ruin it. But as the seasons have progressed, it's gotten better. I have actually enjoyed this show way more than I thought I would. So on one hand, happy, again, as I've said numerous times in Discord and probably on the show, all TV shows should be not longer than 6 seasons. So glad to see it's finishing in 4. It's going to end on a solid note, and that makes me happy.
Good deal. I still have never seen it. My buddy Out of Sense absolutely loves it and has caught it for years and has always been watching it, I think, since the YouTube days. And so has been a diehard of it, and I just have never gotten into it. But I've always heard good things. I honestly didn't know it was still happening. So it kind of faded into obscurity there for a little bit. I'm glad that it's ending on a note that it feels confident with, and I'm glad that it is choosing to end, as you just said. My first one is an indie game, Dungeons of Hinterberg. It is a single-player mix of action RPG and social sim. Explore dungeons, solve puzzles, slay huge bosses that have a schnitzel with the locals and other slayers from around the globe. This is a cute little social sim game that I'm pretty interested in. I hate that it's coming out around the same time of Zenless Zone Zero, which is doing very much the same thing, ARPG with social sim elements, and is unarguably just a all-around bigger deal. But this one will probably be a little bit I don't know, not deeper. Deeper's not the right word. It'll be a little bit less sales tacticy than a Hoyoverse game. So I'm still curious about it. It's going to go on the roulette wheel, and we'll see if I end up playing it or not. But it looks pretty. I really wanted to play the demo. I'm guessing they're going to take the demo away from me. If they don't, maybe we'll end up playing it on a demo stream in the near future, and that will incentivize me to play it even more. All right, Sneaky, your second one?
It was the Dungeons of Hinterberg. Was that? Did we get a trailer for that like in Summer Game Fest? Because I was looking at the pictures earlier, and I'm like, I remember us watching this at some point, and us all being kind of like, "Ooh, this artwork is pretty."
Yes, I actually, I think it might have been a Gamescom.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
We definitely got trailers, but I don't remember where.
That sounds right. But yeah, when I had to look at when you put this one on there and I looked it up, I was like, oh, I remember us talking about this game, and yeah, I definitely want to play it as well. All right, second pick. Let's see, I'll go in order of time, but Time Bandits on Apple TV Plus coming out July 24th. I picked this one for the sheer reason I loved this movie as a kid. I watched it relentlessly, and I absolutely love it. I still quote it occasionally, and in fact, when I quote it and somebody else like picks up on it, we're instant friends because it's kind of obscure. So I am so super curious to see how they're going to modernize this. I have read some reviews that kind of said, like, if you love the movie, you're probably going to hate the show, what they did to it. But I'm still very, very curious to see.
Taika Waititi is the one that's directing it?
I believe so, yes. If I remember
so that's super interesting. Right. I wonder if this is his, like, Our Flag Means Death ended, so I'm going to do this. Wasn't that his show?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's what this is. Like, it's his little pivot of trying to make another TV show work. Interesting. I didn't know anything about this. I've never seen the original movie either, so I'm curious.
It's great. It's basically to kind of give you the quick version. It's a kid who ends up falling in with a bunch of literal little people who time travel, and they go to different areas, and all sorts of shenanigans ensue, and it's fantastic.
Interesting. Very cool. Well, I'll have to look into more about that. I feel like if I'm going to watch an Apple TV show, because I'm so behind on all of them, that if I watch Time Bandits and somebody finds out that I watched that instead of Severance, they're going to be real mad with me. I probably have some Apple TV shows that I got to catch first, but I'm curious. I am curious. My second pick is Shem. Shem is a game about jumping from shadow to shadow in a challenging and lively environment. In this beautiful abstract world, you are a Shem, a shadow creature who is trying to get back to the shadow of their person. This is an indie game that looks short and delightful and inspired and aesthetic. I am all about short games. I am all about indie games. If you know anything about me, those are two of my favorite things, and this looks like it. So if you are interested in fun little puzzlers and supporting a small team and also just playing something that you're not going to get just anywhere, this is a game where you're a little frog. You're a little frog shadow, and you're jumping from shadow to shadow to get back to your person. It looks super cute. It looks super fun, and I will definitely be adding this one onto my list. If it is a 3-hour play, I might just play it on stream because we could finish it in that time. And
that would be cool.
Super fun.
That would be super cool.
So, Shem, check it out. Number 3.
Nice. All right, last pick. The Summer Olympics start Friday the 26th, so at the end of next week. I highlighted this because out of the Olympics, the Summer Olympics are my favorite. The only reason I watch the Winter Olympics is for curling, because it's the only sport that looks like a bunch of dads just showed up and started doing something. And it's the only sport that looks like mere mortals can play, and you don't need to actually be an Olympic athlete. But I absolutely love the Summer Olympics. I am that person that will sit down and watch the marathon and track and field, as being a runner, and a lot of the other stuff that go into it. So I'm super excited. I will have it on as often as I can, but I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Olympics. My hot take on the Olympics is that I feel like it is time to modernize the way we consume them. Somebody needs to do a better job. They need a dedicated YouTube team. They need a Philip DeFranco who gives you a daily recap. Like, we need something that is more consumable for the digital native, because I have always felt like I will catch segments and glimpses here and there, and then I will feel totally disconnected. I'll miss one day and I'll be like, well, I guess I'm done with the Olympics this year because I'm not going to catch anything from this point on. So like, there some kind of an app. Give me an app. I want something to interact with. They need to modernize in some way, shape, or form, because I feel so disconnected.
Right, I would totally and if they did it where they like could even like create an app where you can pay to stream the events, whether in VODs or live, and then get like some sort of summary, I would pay
Yep.
to watch that.
Yeah. 100%.
Absolutely. You would just take my money.
If they do have an app and that's how it works, please let us know, Sugar Haiku, because I would love to know more about it. And honestly, I've never looked. But what I know of the Olympics is that it's just a TV block forever. And so that's how I've always experienced it and always gotten out of it. So
Yeah,
Yes.
so I think Sugar Haiku, I think NBC does an Olympics app where they show like snippets of things and you can see the medal count, and I think it does like articles that you can recap on. So it's a great like recapping
piece.
app, but that's almost about it.
Hmm.
At least in the
Interesting.
past. I don't know if maybe they've changed it, but
Well, maybe somebody had an idea before I did, and that would be great.
that would be awesome.
Because surely I can't be the first one to think of this. I'm going to change my third one to a game that dropped today as a sort of as a surprise to me. I didn't know about it. Called Magical Delicacy. It's available today on Game Pass. This is a wholesome pixel art platformer. Cook magical delicacies from a vast collection of ingredients in your own shop. Explore an unfamiliar town and deliver tasty treats to the townsfolk. Learn new ways to discover secrets, and experience a unique witchy world. So this sounds to me like the game we just finished playing, Tavern Talk, but also a Metroidvania. And I'm fascinated by that whole concept. And so I'm like, I want to know what you mean by the fact that I'm delivering things on a vertical plane. Like, well, why? And
Right.
can you actually make this compelling and interesting to play, or is it just going to be kind of a project? So curious about that one, but Magical Delicacy, it is on Game Pass, and so that makes it real easy to just pick up and play and give it a try. So I will let y'all know. I do want to
And
call
do it
out
now before the price hike.
Right, exactly. DGC did call out Midnight Ramen, which was a game we played at our demo stream the other day.
Yeah.
And it's coming out on the 23rd, and they're excited about it there. Sugar Haiku dropped the Nintendo Championships. Yes. NES World Championships, Nerd Survivors, and TMNT Splintered Fate. So some good stuff going on around there. Those are the exciting things coming out this week. If you want to come and talk about the things that are coming out in the next week with us, we're going to hang out in Discord after this. But before we do, we're going to get to our final segment of the show. That's right. It's time for our meme of the week. Our meme of the week this week, before I show it, is to say that the way that this works is we pick whatever gets the most reactions from our Memes and Goofs channel in the Discord. So be sure to join our Discord server. Go to Memes and Goofs, post memes throughout the week that you find that are fun. The ones that get the most reactions and engagement is the one that I typically pick for the week. This one, I will say, if it hadn't have gotten all of the engagement that it did, I probably would have picked it anyway because I just liked it that much. But this is from Sneaky. So you get your own meme here. The villain destroying the world in the main storyline. We've got some chaos happening in a volcano with lightning in the back. And then it's me and my buddy up here collecting 10 flowers for the garlic farmer so he can make it up to his wife. That is big mood.
So this, I have to tell you, like, there's a lot of memes that kind of just make me chuckle. Like, I'm like, that's good. This one caused me to laugh out loud for about a good 5 minutes.
Yep.
Because not only did this the meme itself, but the image in my head that was like replaying that, I lost it, and I was like, this is a good one. This is a good one.
It's
So,
too bad that
posted.
Mayfly is not still in the chat, because this immediately made me think of one particular side quest in BG3 where you're doing pretty much this exact thing.
Exact thing.
Where you're trying to help somebody that has found himself in a particularly explosive situation because of a fight that he's had with his wife and their disagreement and all that good stuff. And it's a fun one. It's a fun little side quest that you have a couple of ways to secure, but it reminds me of like, hey, we've got something eating our brain. Let's go help this miserable couple out. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
That's fantastic.
Yes, you definitely know it. I'm certain of it, Mayfly. So that's a little thing that I wanted to mention and was planning on mentioning. So it's too bad Mayfly couldn't weigh in there, but it's good stuff. Well, that is our meme of the week, and that is our show. So before we go, any shout out for the season finale from you, Sneaky?
Hey, it has been an awesome ride, and look forward to what will be coming next season, and hopefully continuing to be a presence on here. I have absolutely been honored to be part of the show and to get to do this. It's a blast every time I get to do it. Super bummed that the goated Mayfly could not keep staying on with us because her and I are like the brother and sister that never wanted each other, and so it would have been fun to have that back and forth. But absolutely, just it's been a great season, and I'm looking forward to what we got coming next. But with all of that, come hang out in Discord afterwards for a little bit. It's going to be a lot of fun. And as I say every time, please, please, please join our Discord. It is probably one of the best places that you will ever be throughout your day, every day.
Love it. Love to hear it. And Mayfly's shout out. I mean, she's the GOAT. She's the GOAT. Got the claim, got the name, been given it by folks in the chat. So that means that it has to be true. And so, yeah, definitely check out Mayfly, probably playing BG3 or some kind of Dungeons and Dragons related.
It's really why she left. It wasn't whether. She was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I just need to go finish my campaign on BG3.
Yeah, she was like, I was in the middle of something and I really need to get back to it. And so that's what I'm going to do with the rest of my time. If you want to come and give Mayfly a hard time about that, hopefully she'll be able to hang out in the chat with us afterwards as well. With that, we're going to be wrapping up season 3 of TWIG, folks. This has been TWIG, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show delivered live on twitch.tv/Checkpoint Church each and every week, keeping your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, then you likely enjoyed this one. So remember to give us a 5-star on your podcast app. Click that like button. Recommend the show to all of your favorite nerds. As always, we appreciate everybody that supports this show with their views, with their time, with their shares, with their likes, comments, all that sort of stuff. But we're going to have an extra special shout out to those that have paid to subscribe to us over on Twitch. So these are our subs. Thank you to Wise and Lemur, Zando Calrissian, Sneaky Pig 633, Nerd Pastor Nate, Mine from Arlene, Little Miss Lizzie, DGC 12 1996, H-Man 1009, Coyote 42, XO Gabby, Jate Live, Bweesh, Gobi Church, Sugar Haiku, Twilight 27, Trombone Dalek, Tiny Christina P, Perspective, Deacon Shannon LS, That Random Christian Gamer, Maybe 30 Bats, and Yakeem 4752. Is there going to be TWIG next week? No, and there will not be TWIG for a couple weeks as we go on a hiatus and get ready for season 4. But I am so looking forward to whatever we have cooked up for the next season. We'll have the same old segments, some new segments, some changes to the segments that you know and love. But we're still going to be talking about nerdy news. We're still going to be here on Twitch. And we're still going to be having a great time with each and every one of you. Folks, as we wrap up this show, I want to end it with our 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you out there. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God, hate church. This is your first episode, or you've watched every single one of every single season. We are so glad that you're here, and we believe these 3 things to be true about you. Number 1, that God loves you like really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you like really, really love you. We want community with you. It's why we do these kind of things. It's why we're sad to go on hiatus. It's because we love this time with you. And number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You are a person of sacred worth. The world's a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, with that, until next time that I see you, which will hopefully be right now over on our Discord server, I look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye!